3 sealed envelopes. That's what showed up at Donald Trump's legal team headquarters 2 days ago. 3 attorneys opened them at the same time. And according to sources close to the situation, what was inside those envelopes made all 3 lawyers quit on the spot. Nobody's talking about what those documents said, but in the next 13 minutes, I'm going to connect the dots using court filings, insider reports, and legal expert analysis to show you exactly why Trump's legal defense is collapsing, and why what happens in the next 72 hours could determine whether he even makes it to the election. But first, quick question. Do you think Trump's legal team is abandoning him because they know something we don't? Comment yes or no right now. I'm genuinely curious what you think. This is Capitol Truth Report. Let's break it down. Let's start with the timeline, because the sequence of events here is critical. According to reports from Politico and the New York Times, 5 of Trump's attorneys have resigned in the past 10 days. Not all at once in some dramatic walkout, but one by one, in what legal analysts are calling a coordinated exit strategy. Here's who left. 2 attorneys handling the federal January 6th case, 1 attorney working on the New York civil fraud appeal, and 2 lawyers managing the Georgia election interference case. That's 5 lawyers across 3 major cases. And according to court filings, which are public record, each resignation letter cited similar language, irreconcilable differences regarding legal strategy. Now, that phrase, irreconcilable differences, is lawyer speak for we fundamentally disagree about how to handle this and we can't continue. It's not about money, it's not about workload, it's about strategy. And here's what makes this so unusual. Legal experts quoted in Bloomberg say that when attorneys resign mid-case citing strategy differences, it almost always means one of 2 things. Either the client is refusing to follow legal advice, or the attorneys believe the case is unwinnable and don't want their names attached to the loss. But here's what nobody saw coming. 2 weeks before the first resignation, something happened that didn't make headlines. According to sources who spoke to The Guardian and Axios, Trump held an emergency meeting with his full legal team at Mar-a-Lago. The meeting lasted 4 hours, and by the end, according to people familiar with the discussion, the room was divided into 2 camps: attorneys who wanted Trump to pursue settlement negotiations in at least 2 of his cases, and Trump himself, who reportedly refused. Here's why this matters. Settlement doesn't mean guilt. In civil cases especially, settlements are common. You pay a fine, you avoid a lengthy trial, you move on. For someone running for president, settlements could have made sense strategically. Resolve the legal distractions, focus on the campaign. But according to multiple reports, Trump rejected that approach entirely. His position, as described by sources, fight every case, appeal every ruling, admit nothing. And that's when attorneys started resigning. Legal experts say this is a nightmare scenario for any defense team. When a client refuses to consider strategic options and insists on fighting every battle regardless of cost or outcome, attorneys face an impossible choice. Continue representing someone who won't take advice or walk away and protect their professional reputation. And here's where it gets brutal, because the attorneys who stayed, they're now facing something even worse. Okay, pause for a second. If you're finding this breakdown useful, do me a favor, hit that like button. It actually helps the algorithm show this to more people. And seriously, I read every comment, so drop your thoughts below. Now here's where this story takes a turn nobody expected. Last week, during a hearing in the New York civil fraud case, something happened that legal analysts are calling unprecedented. Trump's lead attorney in that case, one of the few still on the team, made a procedural error so significant that the judge stopped the hearing and asked, on the record, whether the attorney had actually read the relevant case law. According to the court transcript, which is publicly available, the attorney stammered, requested a recess, and when the hearing resumed, apologized to the court. Now, here's the thing, mistakes happen in court. Attorneys are human. But this wasn't a minor procedural slip. Legal experts reviewing the transcript say this was a fundamental misunderstanding of a key legal principle, something a first-year law student would know. And that's when the speculation started. Was this attorney unprepared? Or was this attorney overwhelmed, under-resourced, and struggling to handle a caseload that was previously managed by a much larger team? Because here's the problem Trump now faces. The attorneys who quit were specialists. The lawyer handling the January 6th case had federal criminal defense experience. The attorney on the New York fraud appeal specialized in complex financial litigation. These weren't generalists, they were experts. And replacing them? That's where things get complicated. According to Bloomberg and Reuters, Trump's team has reached out to over 20 law firms seeking new representation. Most have declined. Some cite conflicts of interest. Others cite concerns about payment. Trump has a documented history of disputing legal bills and refusing to pay in full. But some legal analysts quoted in the Washington Post suggest there's another reason: reputational risk. Representing Trump in these cases means associating your name with highly politicized, high-profile litigation. If you lose, your reputation takes a hit. And according to polling data and legal expert analysis, several of these cases are extremely difficult to win. And this is where it gets dangerous. Here's what happens when a legal team collapses mid-case. First, delays. Courts don't automatically grant extensions just because you lost your lawyers. Judges expect you to find new representation quickly. And if you can't, the case proceeds anyway. You either represent yourself, which almost never goes well, or you accept whatever attorney you can find on short notice. Second, continuity problems. New attorneys need time to get up to speed. They have to review thousands of pages of documents, understand the legal strategy that's already been deployed, and figure out what arguments have already been made and what options remain. According to legal experts, in a case as complex as the January 6th prosecution or the New York fraud case, it could take a new attorney months to fully understand the file. But Trump doesn't have months. Several of these cases have trial dates already scheduled. Third, and this is the part that should worry Trump's campaign the most, jury perception. Jurors notice when attorneys quit mid-trial. It raises questions. Why did they leave? Did they disagree with the client? Did they see something that made them uncomfortable? Legal analysts say that in high-profile cases, attorney turnover can be as damaging as the evidence itself. It creates a narrative. Even his own lawyers don't believe in his case. And then 3 days ago, something happened that nobody anticipated. Real quick, what do you think happens if Trump can't find new lawyers in time? Does he represent himself? Does he try to delay the trials? Comment your prediction below. I'm genuinely curious. All right, here's the bombshell. According to a report from the New York Times published 48 hours ago, one of the attorneys who resigned filed a sealed motion with the court. The contents of that motion haven't been made public, but the motion itself is listed on the court docket, and its title is revealing: Motion to withdraw as counsel due to ethical concerns. Ethical concerns. Not strategy differences, not workload, ethics. That phrase has a very specific meaning in legal practice. Attorneys are bound by professional ethics rules. If a client asks them to do something unethical or illegal, they're required to refuse. And if the client insists, the attorney must withdraw. Now, we don't know what those ethical concerns were. The motion is sealed, which means the judge decided the contents were too sensitive to make public. But legal experts analyzing this are pointing to a few possibilities. One theory: Trump may have wanted his attorneys to make legal arguments that weren't supported by facts or law. Attorneys can't knowingly present false information to a court. If a client insists on doing so, the attorney must withdraw. Another theory: Trump may have asked his attorneys to engage in witness communication that crossed ethical lines. There are strict rules about contacting witnesses in ongoing cases. Violating those rules could get an attorney disbarred. A third theory: Trump may have wanted his attorneys to pursue legal strategies that involved misrepresenting evidence or filing frivolous motions. Again, attorneys can't do that and maintain their law licenses. We don't know which, if any, of these theories is correct. But what we do know is this. A sealed motion citing ethical concerns is extremely rare, and it suggests that whatever disagreement occurred wasn't just about strategy, it was about professional conduct. And here's why that matters for the 2024 election. Trump is running for president while managing multiple criminal and civil cases. His campaign strategy has been to portray these cases as political persecution, a corrupt system trying to stop him because they can't beat him at the ballot box. But when your own attorneys start quitting and citing ethical concerns, that narrative gets harder to maintain. Donors are watching. Republican Party leaders are watching. And voters are watching. Every resignation, every courtroom stumble, every delay reinforces a question that's becoming harder for Trump to answer. If your own lawyers won't defend you, why should we? According to polling data from Pew Research and Gallup, Trump's legal problems are already affecting his campaign. Swing state voters cite his legal issues as a top concern. Independent voters say they're less likely to support a candidate facing multiple indictments. And now, with his legal team in disarray, those concerns are intensifying. Campaign analysts quoted in Politico say, Trump faces a strategic dilemma. Does he keep fighting every case, even if it means going to trial with an inexperienced or incomplete legal team? Or does he finally consider settlements and plea deals to minimize the political damage? Either way, the clock is ticking, and the next 72 hours could determine everything. The bottom line is this: Donald Trump's legal team is collapsing. 5 attorneys have quit in 10 days. One filed a sealed motion citing ethical concerns. Courtroom mistakes are happening. And Trump is struggling to find experienced replacements willing to take on these cases. This isn't speculation. This is based on court filings, news reports from the New York Times, Bloomberg, Reuters, Politico, and legal expert analysis. Every claim I've made today is sourced, and I've linked everything in the description below. This is Capital Truth Report. We provide fact-based political analysis without spin, without exaggeration, just the truth. Here's my final question for you. Do you think Trump will find new lawyers in time, or do you think he's going to trial with whoever he can get? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you think this legal crisis will affect the election, hit that like button. If you want more analysis like this, fact-checked, sourced, no clickbait, hit subscribe. We're covering every development in the 2024 race as it happens. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you.